Switch on fast so that we can start. Yes, page number. फिर भूल गए
104.
104.
Yeah, ma'am.
All right. क्या डिस्कशन हुआ था लास्ट? टोनी नंगी का ही डिस्कशन हो रहा है. ओके. Okay, Ayushi, start from here. About 60 people.
Okay.
About 60 people, soccer's mom and lawyers on lunch breaks, old guys with fading tattoos and hipsters in skinny jeans are sitting in a church and listening to a man with a slight punch and a tie that complements his pale blue eyes. He looked like a successful politician with a warm charisma of assured relaxation.
Assured re-election.
Okay, ma'am. My name is John, he says, and I am an alcoholic. Hi, John, everyone replies.
यानी अब फिर से यहाँ पे डिस्कशन होगा. न्यू करेक्टर है जॉन. ठीक है, अब इनके बारे में बात हो रही है.
The first time I decided to get help was when my son broke his arm. John says he's standing behind a podium. I was having an affair with a woman at work and she told me that she wanted to end it. मैम क्लियर नहीं दिख रहा है ठीक से कुछ.
ठीक है, आप उसको जूम भी कर सकते हैं आपके स्क्रीन पे अपने.
जूम है मैम फिर भी क्लियर नहीं है, पता नहीं क्यों. So I went to a bar and had 2 vodkas and went back to my desk, and at lunch I went to Chili's with a friend and we each had a few beers. And then at about 2 o'clock, me and another friend left and found a place with a 2 for 1 happy hours. It was my day to pick up the kids. My wife didn't know about the affair yet. So I drove to their school and got them. And I was driving home on a street I must have driven 1,000 times. And I slammed into a stop sign at the end of the block. Up on the sidewalk and bam, right into the sign. Sam, that's my boy, hadn't put on his seatbelt, so he fell against the windslide and broke his arm. There was blood on the dash where he hit his nose, and the windslide was cracked, and I was so scared.
स्लाइड पर है, विंडशील्ड है.
Windshield. That's when I decided I needed help. So I checked into a clinic and then came out. And everything was pretty good for a while. For about 13 months, everything was great. I felt like I was in control and I went to meetings every couple of days. But eventually I started thinking I'm not such a loser that I need to hang out with a bunch of drunks. So I stopped going. Then my mom got cancer and she called me at work almost 2 years after I got sober. She was driving home from the doctor's office and she said, "He told me we can treat it, but it's pretty advanced." The first thing I did after I hang up is find a bar, and I was pretty much drunk for the next 2 years until my wife moved on. And I was supposed to pick up my kids again. I was in really bad place by them. A friend was teaching me to use coke, and every afternoon I would do a line inside of my office, and 5 minutes later I would get that little drip into the back of my throat and do another line. Anyways, it was my turn to get the kids. I was on the way to their school and I felt totally fine. Like I was on top of everything, and I pulled into an intersection when the light was red and this hunk truck slammed into my car. It actually
यहाँ एक
flipped
मिनट,
the car.
ये बाय मिस्टेक हुआ है, इसको क्या पढ़ रहे हैं आप? ह्यूज ट्रक.
गलती से पढ़े थे. Filled the car on its side. I didn't have a scratch on me. I got out and started trying to push my car over because I figured if I can make it home and leave before the cops arrive, I will be fine. Of course, that didn't work out. And when they arrested me for DUI, they showed me how the passenger side of the car was completely crushed in. That's where Sammy usually sat. If he had been there, he would have been killed. So
Okay.
I started going to.
यहाँ से कोई और यहाँ तक समझ में आ गया? यहाँ पे जॉन के बारे में बताया जा रहा है कि वो अल्कोहलिक है, ठीक है. इसके अलावा उनको रियलाइज कब हुआ ये बैड हैबिट से ओवरकम करना? जब उसके बेटे का हाथ टूट गया था, ठीक है. इसके अलावा एक दिन वो अपने बेटे को फिर से स्कूल लेने के लिए जा रहा था, फिर से उसका टर्न था, राइट. और रेड लाइट नहीं देखा, कार से टक्कर हो गई उसकी, या ट्रक से टक्कर हो गई उसकी. और कार तो खैर स्क्रैच वगैरह लगा है, लेकिन उसको कुछ नहीं हुआ, ठीक है. लेकिन पुलिस आई, उसको लगा कि हम स्केप कर जाएंगे, पुलिस नहीं पकड़ पाएगी, लेकिन फिर आई पुलिस, उसको पकड़ी भी और दिखाई कैसे पैसेंजर सीट पूरा खराब हो चुका था, ठीक है. तो अगर सैमी यहाँ कौन है? सैमी सन, ठीक है. सन का नाम है सैमी. अगर वो वहां यहाँ पे होता तो ऑब्वियसली उसको चोट लग चुकी होती और ही वुड हैव बीन किल्ड इवन, ठीक है. तो यहाँ तक का हुआ डिस्कशन. अब आगे कौन पढ़ेंगे? प्रीति कुमारी.
Yes, ma'am. So I started going to meetings again, and my sponsor told me that it didn't matter if I felt in control. Without a higher power in my life, without admitting my powerlessness, none of it was going to work. I thought that was bull. I am an atheist, but I knew that if something didn't change, I was going to kill my kids. So I started working at that working at believing in something bigger than me, and it's working. I don't know if it's God or something else, but there is power that has helped me stay solar for 7 years now, and I am in awe of it. I don't wake up sober every morning. I mean, I haven't had a drink in 7 years.
वर्ड आ रहा है sober. What do you mean by that?
Stay sober for 7 years.
What do you mean by this? एक सोवर यहाँ देखिए, कोई भी आंसर दीजिए. बट देयर इज अ पावर दैट हैज हेल्प्ड मी टू स्टे सोबर. एक सोवर यहाँ दिख रहा है. फिर हर एक मॉर्निंग मैं सोबर टाइप नहीं उठता. इसके अलावा एक और जगह था. तो ये सोबर है क्या?
मैम अल्कोहल फैक्टर 2 होता है
क्या?
Not a person.
मैम नशे में धुत न होना, सोबर का हिंदी मीनिंग ये हुआ।
वही तो बोल रहे हैं मैम, a person who is not can't get affected by alcohol.
हैंगओवर बोल सकते हैं मैम।
Yes ma'am.
मैम सीरियस
शांत
Not
रखना है
drinking too
अपने
much.
को, हर सुबह शांत नहीं रह पाता यहाँ नशे में, या हाँ नशे में क्या है, आई डोंट वेक अप सोबर एवरी मॉर्निंग, यानी हर सुबह ऐसा नहीं होता कि मैं शांत ही उठता हूँ, ठीक है, या नशे में धुत ही उठता हूँ। अब धीरे धीरे ग्रेजुअली वो इम्प्रूव कर रहा है, ठीक है। और यहाँ पे एक और वर्ड है, आई एम एन एथिस्ट, मतलब क्या होता है?
वही जो गॉड में बिलीव नहीं करता है।
नहीं करने वाला, ठीक है।
Nasty.
I wake up feeling like I'm gonna fall down that day. Those days I look for the higher power and I call my sponsor, and most of the time we don't talk about drinking. We talk about life and marriage and my job. And by the time I am ready for a shower, my head is on straight. The first cracks in the theory that an Alcoholics Anonymous succeeded slowly by reprogramming participants' habits started appearing a little over a decade
यहाँ पे
ago.
कंफ्यूज नहीं हो जाइएगा, जो इससे पहले जो AA फाउंडेशन, जो AA इंस्टीट्यूशन काम कर रही थी, उसी का यहाँ फुल फॉर्म दिया हुआ है, अल्कोहलिक एनोनिमस, ठीक है। ये जो AA इससे पहले देखते आ रहे थे, वही ये AA है, ठीक है। वही इंस्टीट्यूशन जो वेरियस प्रोग्राम सेट करती है, वेरियस मीटिंग सेट करती है, और जितनी भी बुरी आदतें हैं उससे रिकवर करने के लिए हेल्प करती है, ठीक है।
A little over a decade ago and were caused by stories from alcoholics like John. Researchers began finding that habit replacement worked pretty well for many people until the stress of life, such as finding out your mom has cancer or your marriage is coming apart, got too high, at which point alcoholics often fell off the wagon. Academics asked why, if habit replacement is so effective, it seemed to fail at such critical moments, and as they dug into alcoholics' stories to answer that question, they learned that replacement habits only become durable new behaviors when they are accompanied by something else. One group of researchers at the alcohol research group in California, for instance, noticed a pattern in interviews over and over again. Alcoholics said that same thing. Identifying cues and choosing new routines is important, but without another ingredient, the new habits never fully took hold. The secret, that alcoholics said, was God. Researchers hated that explanation. God and spiritual are not testable hypotheses. Churches are filled with drunks who continue drinking despite a pure faith. In conversation with addicts, the spiritually kept coming up again and again. So in 2005, a group of scientists, this time affiliated with UC Berkeley Brown University and the National Institutes of Health, began asking alcoholics about all kinds of religious and spiritual topics. Then they looked at the data to see if there was any correlation between religious belief and how long people stayed sober. A pattern emerged: alcoholics who practiced the techniques of habit replacement, the data indicated, could often stay sober until there was a stressful event in their lives, at which point a certain number started drinking again, no matter how many new routines they had embraced. However, though
हर्षानंद कौन सा वर्चुअल बैकग्राउंड लगा के कहाँ चले गए?
यही है मैम, थोड़ा बाहर निकले हुए मैम।
रिद्धि कुमारी, यू रीड।
कहाँ से मैम?
यहाँ से।
However, those alcoholics who believed, like Jones in Brooklyn, that some higher power had entered their lives were more likely to make it through the stressful periods with their sobriety intact. It wasn't God that mattered. The researchers figured out it was belief itself that made a difference. Once people learned how to believe in something, that a skill started spilling over to other part of their lives until they start believing they could change.
Okay, the thing which you need to change is this pronouncing this word starting from S. A skill, a spelling, a started. This is not correct. Skill, spelling, started. All right.
That started spilling over to other part of their lives until they started believing they could change. Belief was the ingredient that made a reworked habit loop into a permanent behavior. I wouldn't have said this a year ago that how fast our understanding is changing, said Tenigan, the University of New Mexico researcher. But belief seems critical. You don't have a belief in God, but you do need the capacity to believe that things will get better. Even if you give people better habits, it doesn't repair why they started drinking in the first place. Eventually they
में आप ये वर्ड भी ऐड करेंगे. People नहीं है, people बोलेंगे.
people eventually they will have a bad day, and no new routine is going to make everything seem okay. What can make a difference is believing that they can cope with that stress without alcohol.
फिर से स्ट्रेस, जहाँ पे एस शुरू हो ना कोई भी वर्ड, वहां पे थोड़ा पॉज कर लीजिए. ठीक है, फिर बोलिए, क्योंकि ये हैबिट बन गया आपका.
By putting alcoholics in meeting where belief is a given, where in fact belief is an integral part of the 12 steps. AA trains people in how the belief is something until they believe in the program and themselves. It lets people practice believing that things will eventually get better until things actually do.
ओके, पॉज. रविराज, आप ऊपर कम किए अपना वो जो एस वाला प्रॉब्लम है.
या मैम.
ठीक है, पढ़िए यहाँ से.
Yeah, ma'am. At some point, people in AA look around the room and think, if it worked for that guy, I guess it can work for me, said Lee N. Kutas, a senior scientist at the Alcohol Research Group. There's something really powerful about groups and shared experience. People might be skeptical about their ability to change if they are by themselves, but a group will convince them to suspend.
पीपल को, इंडिविजुअल को डाउट हो सकता है अपनी एबिलिटी पे, लेकिन अब वो ए क्या करता था, ग्रुप बनाता था ना. तो आप अगर अपने आप का थोड़ा भी डगमगाएंगे तो वो ग्रुप आपको कन्विंस कर लेगा. ठीक है.
Yeah, ma'am.
तो
आगे पढ़े मैम.
बिलीफ होता है. ठीक है, आगे.
Yeah, ma'am. A community creates belief. As John was leaving the AA meeting, I asked him why the program worked now after it had failed him before. When I started coming to meetings after the truck accident, Someone asked for volunteers to help put away the chairs. He told me. I raised my hand. It wasn't a big thing. It took like 5 minutes, but it felt good to do something that wasn't all about me. I think that started me on a different path. I wasn't ready to give in to the group the first time, but when I came back, I was ready to start believing in something.
ओके तो इस पैराग्राफ तक हम लोग क्या समझे कि ये बिलीफ सिस्टम का स्ट्रॉन्ग, चाहे आप गॉड पे बिलीव करें ना करें, लेकिन अगर कोई चीज आपको चेंज करना है और बिलीव आपका स्ट्रॉन्ग है, देन यू विल बी एबल टू डू दैट. ओके, यहाँ तक का ये कंक्लूजन निकल के आया है. अब आगे चलिए, ये कौन पढ़ेंगे? ये अशिता सिंह.
Within a week of Digni firing by the Buckeyes, the owner of the Indian Police Colts left an impassioned 15-minute message on his answering machine. The Colt, despite having one of the NFL best quarterbacks, Peyton Manning, had just finished a dreadful season. The owner needed help. He was tired of losing. He said Digny moved to Indian Police and became head coach. He immediately started implementing the same basic game plan, remaking the Colts routine and teaching players to use old cues to build reworked habits. In his first season, the Colts went 10-6 and qualified for the playoffs. The next season, the Colts went 10-6 and within one game of the Super Bowl, Digny's celebrity grew. Newspaper and television profiles appeared around the country. Fans flew in so they could visit the church Digny attended. His son became fixtured in the Colts locker room and on the sidelines. In 205, Jamie, his eldest boy, graduated from high school and went to college in Florida. Even as Digny's success mounted, however, the same troubling pattern emerged. The Colts would play a season of disciplined winning football and then under play of pressure choke. Believe is the biggest part of success in professional football. Digny told me the team wanted to believe, but when things got really tense, they went back to their comfort zone and old habits. The Colts finished the 205 regular season with 14 wins and 2 losses, the best record in its history. Then tragedy struck 3 days before Christmas. Tony Digny phone rang in the middle of the night. His wife answered and handed him the receiver, thinking it was one of his players. There was a nurse on the line. Digny's son Jimmy had been brought into the hospital earlier in the evening. She said with compression injuries on his throat. His girlfriend had found him hanging in his apartment, a belt around his neck. Paramedics had rushed him to the hospital, but efforts at reveal were unsuccessfully. He was gone. A chaplain flew to
But the effort at revival were unsuccessful. मतलब डंगी का जो बेटा था जेमी, उसको बचा नहीं पाया, तो वही एफर्ट एट रिवाइवल मतलब फिर से उसको वापस से ठीक करने का जो कोशिश था वो नाकामयाब हुआ और डंगी का बेटा अब नहीं है. He was gone.
Life will never be the same again. The chaplain told them, but you won't always feel like you do right now. A few days after the Colonel Digny returned to the sideline, he needed something to distract himself, and his wife and team encouraged him to go back to work. I was overwhelmed by their love and support. He later wrote, as a group, we had always leaned on each other in difficult times. I needed them now more than ever. The team the team lost their first playoff game, concluding their session, but in the aftermath of watching Digny during this tragedy, something changed. One of his players from that period told me, we had seen coach through this trouble thing and all of us wanted to help them somehow. It is simply stick even Cardwiller to suggest that a young man's death can have an impact on football game. Digny had always said that nothing is more important to him than his family. But in the wake up of Jimmy's passing, as the Colt started preparing for the next season, something shifted. His players say the team gave in to Digny's vision of how football should be played in a way they hadn't before they started to believe. I had spent a lot of previous session worrying about my contracts and salary, said one player who, like others, spoke about that period on the condition of anonymity. Anonymity. When coach came back after the funeral, I wanted to give him everything I could to take away his hurt. I ca- I kind I kind of give myself to the team. Some men like hugging
What?
each other and
Neha Priya, read from here, roll 28.
Yes, ma'am.
Read from here.
Some men like shows each other. Another player told me, I have used my son in a decade. But after coach came back, I walked over and I used him as long as
Hugging है, गले लगाना.
hugging.
Yes.
I could become. I once wanted him to know that I was there for him. After the death of Dougie's son, the team started playing differently. A conviction emerged among players about the strength of Dougie's. मैम नीचे कीजिए ना.
क्या दिख नहीं रहा है क्या?
नो मैम.
स्क्रीन पे तो है.
मैम मेरे पे नहीं दिख रहा है.
Visible.
नो मैम. मैम उतना ही पे रुक गया है वो.
पता नहीं, यहाँ तो मैं कर चुकी हूँ. पढ़िए प्रियंका, आप पढ़िए.
आप कहाँ पे पढ़ना था?
यहाँ तक हो गया ना? After that.
Yeah. After the death of Dungy's son, the team started playing differently. A conviction emerged among players about the strength of Dungy's strategy. In practices and scrimmages leading up to the start of the 2006 season, the Colts played tight, precise football. Most football teams aren't really teams. They are just guys who work together. A third player from that period told me, but we became a team. It felt amazing. Coach was the spark, but it was about more than him. After he came back, it felt like we really believed in each other, like we knew how to play together in a way we didn't before. For the Colts, a belief in their team in Dungey's tactics and their ability to win began to emerge out of strategy, but just as often, a similar belief can emerge without any kind of adversity. In a 1994 Harvard study that examined people who had radically changed their lives, for instance, researchers found that some people had remade their habits after a personal tragedy, such as a divorce or a life threatening illness. Others changed after they saw a friend go through something awful, the same way that Dungey's player watched him struggle. Just as frequently, however, there was no strategy that preceded people's transformations. Rather, they changed because they were embedded in social groups that had made change easier. One woman said her entire life shifted when she signed up for a psychology class and met a wonderful group. It opened a Pandora's box. The woman told researchers it could not tolerate the status quo any longer. I had changed in my core. Another man said that he found new friends among whom he could practice being gregarious. When I do make the effort to overcome my shyness, I feel that it is not really me acting, that it's someone else, he said. But by practicing with his new group, it stopped feeling like acting. He started to believe he wasn't shy, and then eventually he wasn't anymore. When people join groups where change seems possible, the potential for that change to occur becomes more real. For most people who overhaul their lives, there are no seminal moments or life altering disasters. There are simply communities, sometimes of just one other person, who make change believable. One woman told researchers her life transformed after a day spent cleaning toilets and after weeks of discussing with the rest of the cleaning crew whether she should leave her husband. Change occurs among their other people. One of the psychologists involved in this study, Todd, Todd Harterton, told me it seems real when we can see it in others people's eyes. The precise mechanisms of the beliefs are still little understood. No one is certain why a group encountered in a psychology class can convince a woman that everything is different, or why Dungy's team came together after their coach sons passed away. Plenty of people talk to friends about unhappy marriages and never leave their spouse. Lots of teams watch their coaches experience adversity and never gel. But we do know that for habits to permanently change, people must believe that change is feasible. The same process that makes AA so effective, the power of a group to teach individuals how to believe, happens whenever people come together to help one another change. Belief is easier when it occurs within a community.
Okay, from here, Shubham.
Yes, ma'am.
Wait, let me check.
10 months.
Wait.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think आज ये complete हो जाएगा. 10 months after.
10 months after Jamie's death, the 2006 football season began. The Colts played fearless football, winning their first 9 games and finished the year 12-4. They won their first playoff game and then beat the Baltimore Ravens for the divisional title. At that point, they were one step away from the Super Bowl, playing for the conference championship, the game that Dungey had lost 8 times before. The matchup occurred on January 21, 2007, against the New England Patriots, the same team that had snuffed out the Colts' Super Bowl aspirations twice. The Colts started the game strong, but before the first half ended, they began falling apart. Players were afraid of making mistakes or so eager to get past the final Super Bowl hurdle that they lost track of where they were supposed to be focusing. They stopped relying on their habits and started thinking too much. Sloppy tackling led to missed opportunities. One of Peyton Manning's passes were intercepted and returned for a touchdown. Their opponents, the Patriots, pulled ahead 21 to 3. No team in the history of the NFL had ever overcome so big a deficit in a conference championship. Dungy's team once again was going to lose. At halftime, the team filed into the locker room, and Dungy asked everyone to gather around. The noise from the stadium filtered through the closed door, but inside everyone was quiet. Dungy looked at his players. They had to believe, he said. We faced this same situation against this same team in 2003. Dungy told them. In that game, they had come within 1 yard of winning. 1 yard. Get your sword ready because this time we are going to win. This is our game. It's our time. The Colts came out in the second half and started playing as they had in every preceding game. They stayed focused on their cues and habits. They carefully executed the plays they had spent the past 5 years practicing until they had become automatic. Their offense on the opening drive ground out 76 yards over 14 plays and scored a touchdown. Then, 3 minutes after taking the next possession, they scored again. As the fourth quarter wound down, the teams traded points. Dungy's call tied the game, but never managed to pull ahead. With 3 minutes 49 seconds left in the game, the Patriots
Not able to hear you. मेरे साइड
for the first time. क्या मैम?
आवाज नहीं आ रही थी अभी.
अब आ रही है मैम?
Proceed.
यहाँ से मैम for the first time.
दिख ही नहीं रहा. अच्छा, for the first time. ठीक है.
For the first time, the Colts had the lead 38 to 34. There were now 60 seconds left on the clock. If Dungy's team could stop the Patriots from scoring a touchdown, the Colts would win. 60 seconds in an eternity in football. The Patriots quarterback Tom Brady had scored touchdowns in far less time. Sure enough, within seconds of the start of play, Brady moved his team halfway down the field with 17 seconds remaining. The Patriots were within striking distance, poised for a final big play that would hand Dungy another defeat and crush, yet again, his team's Super Bowl dreams. As the Patriots approached the line of scrimmage, the Colts defense went into their stances. Marlin Jackson, a Colts cornerback, stood 10 yards back from the line. He looked at his cues, the width of the gap between the Patriots linemen and the depth of the running back stance. Tom Brady, the Patriots quarterback, took the snap and dropped back to pass. Jackson Jackson was already moving. Brady cocked his arm and heaved the ball. His intended target was a Patriot receiver 22 yards away, wide open. Near the middle, आ गया ना?
Middle of the
Near
field.
the middle of the
सारा
field.
गेम
Yes,
का
ma'am.
डिस्क्रिप्शन हो रहा है कैसे वो लोग खेल रहे हैं. ठीक है.
Yes, ma'am. Near the middle of the field. If the receiver caught the ball, it was likely he could make it close to the end zone or score a touchdown. The football flew through the air. Jackson, the Colts cornerback, was already running at an angle. Following his habits, he just passed the receiver right shoulder. cutting in front of him just as the ball arrived. Jackson plucked the ball out of the air for an interception, ran a few more steps, and then slid to the ground, hugging the ball to his chest. The whole play had taken less than 5 seconds. The game was over. Dungey and the Colts had won. 2 weeks later, they won the Super Bowl. There are dozens of reasons that might explain why the Colts finally became champions that year. Maybe they got lucky, maybe it was just their game, just their time, but Dungey's players say it's because they believed, and because that belief made everything they had learned. All the routines they had practiced until they become automatic states, even at the most stressful moments. We are proud to have won this championship for our leader, Coach Dungey. Peyton Manning told the crowd afterward, cradling the Lombardi trophy. Dungey turned to his wife. We did it, he said.
ओके तो यहाँ आप लोगों ने देखा कि कैसे अब कहाँ हार रही थी वो टीम, जब वो लॉकर रूम लेकर के पूरी टीम को आया और डंगी ने क्या किया, जस्ट उन लोगों को विश्वास दिलाया कि यस हम लोग जीत सकते हैं, ठीक है। और फिर फाइनली वही बिलीफ के साथ वो लोग वापस टीम को फेस किए और जीते, ठीक है। अब यहाँ से सौम्या सिंह। How do habits change?
How do habits change? There is unfortunately no specific set of steps guaranteed to work for every person, and we know that can't be eradicated. It must instead be replaced, and we know that habits are most malleable when the golden rule of habit change is applied. If we keep the same cue and the same reward, a new routine can be inserted.
ओके यहाँ तक रहने दीजिए, आज तो नहीं हो पाएगा। अब ये खत्म है, ऑलमोस्ट जितना बचा है वो हम लोग कल कर लेंगे, मतलब समझिए खत्म ही है। और कल आप लोगों का मार्क्यू होगा, ठीक है। 3 चैप्टर खत्म, और कल मैं जस्ट ऐसे कैजुअल क्वेश्चन कि हाँ कौन करेक्टर है, जो मैं पहले से बताते आ रही हूँ कि क्या क्या मार्क्यू में पूछा जाएगा, ठीक है। अब पता चलेगा कितने लोग अटेंटिव थे, कितने लोग अटेंटिव नहीं। जो लोग आंसर देंगे उनकी मार्किंग होगी, आंसर नहीं देंगे मार्किंग नहीं होगी, ठीक है। तो कल ऑफलाइन क्लास है, बेटर कम प्रिपेयर्ड, थोड़ा बहुत रिकॉल कर लीजिए। और आई थिंक अगर आप शुरू से अटेंटिव हैं तो रिकॉल भी करने की जरूरत नहीं है, ठीक है। तो आई एम अनाउंसिंग दैट टुमारो विल बी योर मार्क्यू, ओके, ठीक है। समझ आया?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now give your attendance.
Yes, ma'am.
रवि राज, सबसे लास्ट में आवाज आया आपका यस मैम। आपको तो लो साउंड नहीं करना चाहिए, आप तो अटेंटिव है।
निराश सर रवि राज।
हाँ Okay, respond to your roll number. Roll number 1, 2,
Yes, ma'am. 2.
3,
Yes, ma'am. 3.
4,
Yes, ma'am. 4.
5,
Yes, ma'am. 5.
6,
Yes, ma'am. 6.
7, 8,
Yes, ma'am. 8.
9,
Present, ma'am. 9.
10,
Yes, ma'am. 10.
11, 12, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
14.
Ma'am, 16, ma'am.
All right. 17, 18, 19,
Yes, ma'am. 19, ma'am.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
21.
21. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36.
Yes, ma'am. 35.
34.
35, 36, 37, 38.
38. Yes, ma'am.
I'm 35.
मैम 12 का अनम्यूट नहीं हो रहा है.
ठीक है, 12 में लास्ट में बनाती हूँ. हैंड रेज में देख चुकी हूँ. 39, 40, 41, 42, 43.
Yes, ma'am. 43.
44, 45, 46.
Yes, ma'am. 45.
47, 48, 49, 50.
48, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. 50, ma'am.
Ma'am, 48.
Okay.
50, ma'am.
Okay, done. 51, 52, 53.
Yes, ma'am. 53.
54, 55, 56.
Yes, ma'am. 55.
Ma'am 54.
Okay.
55, ma'am.
हो गया 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66.
Ma'am 63.
64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69,
69, ma'am.
70,
Yes, ma'am. 70.
71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76,
74, ma'am.
75, 76.
Ma'am
Okay.
76.
Ma'am, roll number 68, ma'am.
1 minute. 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83,
83, ma'am.
84, 85, 86,
Ma'am, roll number 80.
86, 87, 88, 89.
Present, ma'am, 88.
Okay,
Ma'am,
89.
89.
Okay, done. 90, 90, 91, 92,
91,
93,
yes, ma'am. 91.
92, 93, 94,
94 present, ma'am.
95, 96, 97.
Yes, ma'am. 95.
Okay, एक और आवाज.
95.
96, ma'am.
Okay, 97, 98,
Yes, ma'am. 98.
99, 100,
Yes,
100,
ma'am. 100.
101, 102, 103, 104, 105. Okay, now who are there? 12.
68, ma'am.
Ma'am, roll number 1.
हैंड रेज करिए, मैं दिख रहा है मुझे. 12 डन. देन जैसे जैसे होते जा रहा है लोअर हैंड. देन 41. अच्छा 39 भी है. $39 done. 41. 44. 768. Okay, then 78. All right. अच्छा 1 भी है, तो रोल नंबर 1 आप कैसे छूट जाते हैं? All right, thank you. See you next class.
मैम
रोल नंबर 40 ठीक है, देख लो।